There are moments in life when we hold on to dreams so tightly. We plan every detail, we picture every outcome, we believe we know exactly what will make us happy, and then everything changes, the opportunity slips away. The doors we were knocking on for so long remain shut. It feels like the world is moving forward while we are left behind. In those moments, it's natural to feel frustrated, even heartbroken. We question everything. Why didn't this work out? Why me? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth that time eventually reveals. Sometimes what we think is a loss is actually protection. Sometimes the path we are so desperate to take is the very path that would have broken us. You see, we only see the moment we are in. We see the small picture, but the one who crafted our existence sees the entire journey from beginning to end. Every closed door is not rejection, it's redirection. Every delay is not denial, it's a divine pause until the timing is perfect. And every unanswered prayer is not ignored, it's being replaced with something far better than we imagined. Think about it. How many times have you looked back at your life and whispered, "I'm glad things didn't go the way I wanted"? That's not coincidence, that's care. The plan for you is far greater than the one you're holding on to. Your dreams may be beautiful, but the reality that's written for you is beyond anything you could design for yourself. So if you are in a season of waiting, if you are facing doors that won't open, if you are holding dreams that feel out of reach, let go of the fear that you are falling behind. Trust the process. Believe that what's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you is never meant to be yours. Because one day you'll look back and understand that the changes, the delays, the detours were not mistakes. They were the proof that the plan was always better than the dream. Life is a lot like looking at a giant, beautiful painting. But only through a tiny hole, you see a small patch of colors. Some strokes seem random, some areas feel dark and dull. You can't figure out what it's supposed to be, and so, from where you stand, the painting doesn't make sense. That's how life often feels. We wake up each day making choices, chasing dreams, and facing challenges, but we only see a small portion of the story. We see the joy of today or the pain of today, but we can't see how these moments connect to the bigger picture of our lives. Sometimes we look at our circumstances and think, this isn't what I planned, this doesn't match my dream. We might even convince ourselves that something has gone terribly wrong, but what if nothing is wrong? What if the piece we are looking at right now is just one tiny brushstroke in a masterpiece we can't fully see yet? Think about moments from your past. There were probably times when you felt completely lost. Maybe you didn't get into the school you wanted. Maybe you lost a job you thought was perfect for you. Maybe a relationship ended that you thought would last forever. At the time, those moments might have felt like the end of the world. And yet, years later, you look back and realize those moments weren't the end. They were the beginning of something else. Not getting into that school might have pushed you toward a different career that you now love. Losing that job might have given you the courage to start something of your own. That relationship ending might have made space for someone who treats you far better than you thought possible. This is the challenge of being human. We live in the middle of the story, and the middle is always messy. We don't get to read the last chapter yet. We don't get to see how the puzzle pieces fit until much later. It's like watching a movie halfway through and trying to guess the ending. You don't understand why certain characters are acting the way they are. You don't know why a certain scene feels slow or painful. But if you trust the storyteller, you know that every scene has a purpose even if it doesn't make sense yet. The truth is, our perspective is limited. We judge our life by what we can see right now, and what we see right now is incomplete. That's why it's dangerous to make permanent conclusions about temporary seasons. Just because you don't understand the why right now doesn't mean there isn't one. It's easy to lose hope when we face unexpected detours. When something we've been working towards suddenly collapses, we feel like our whole world is shrinking. But here's a thought. Maybe what feels like a detour is actually the main road. Maybe the dream you're holding is too small compared to what's possible for you. Sometimes we're so focused on getting what we want, we don't even consider that there could be something better, something that fits us more perfectly than we could imagine. But to get there, we have to walk through uncertainty. We have to accept that right now, we only see part of the picture. If you've ever done a jigsaw puzzle, you know how frustrating it can be when you're holding one piece and can't figure out where it goes. On its own, the piece doesn't look like much. But once you place it in the right spot, it suddenly makes sense. Life is exactly like that. Each event, each victory, each setback is a piece of a much bigger design. There's also a certain beauty in not seeing it all at once. Imagine if you already knew every detail of your future, every success, every heartbreak, every turn. Would you still have the same sense of wonder when something good happens? Would you still grow from the challenges if you could skip ahead to the resolution? Part of what shapes us is the journey itself, the uncertainty, the trust, and the lessons learned along the way. So when life doesn't make sense, remember this, you're not seeing the whole picture yet. The dark strokes you see today might be the shadows that make tomorrow's colors shine brighter. The random shapes you can't figure out might be forming the most beautiful part of the painting. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll step back and see how every single piece, every single brushstroke, was part of something far greater than you could have imagined. We've all been there. You set your heart on something, you put in the effort, the time, the energy, you do everything right, at least from where you stand, and yet, the answer is no, the door doesn't open, the opportunity passes. The dream slips away. In that moment, it's almost impossible not to feel rejected. It's natural to think, I'm not good enough, or maybe I'll never get there. But what if that no wasn't meant to stop you? What if it was meant to move you? You see, a closed door isn't always a dead end. Sometimes it's a detour, a way of guiding you toward a place you might have never found on your own. It's like walking down a hallway and finding the door you wanted locked, but realizing a few steps later there's another door wide open, leading somewhere even better. The challenge is, in the moment, all we can see is the locked door. We stare at it, knock on it, maybe even bang on it, desperate for it to open. We feel the sting of not being chosen, not being accepted, not being allowed in. But from a bigger perspective, that closed door could be the very thing saving you from something that would have hurt you. Think back to a time in your life when something didn't work out. Maybe it was a job you wanted so badly. Maybe it was a relationship you thought was perfect. Maybe it was a plan you were certain would lead to happiness. Now, with the gift of hindsight, you can see that not getting it was a blessing. It pushed you towards something else, something that fit you better, something that grew you in ways the original plan never could. This is the power of redirection. When a door closes, it forces us to look around. It makes us pause. It challenges us to see possibilities we would have ignored if the first plan had worked. We are creatures of habit. We like to stay on familiar paths. But sometimes the familiar path is not the best path. Imagine you're on a road trip and the highway you plan to take is suddenly closed for construction. At first, you're annoyed. You think, this is going to ruin my whole trip. But then you take the detour and discover a scenic route, a breathtaking view you never would have seen otherwise. The closure didn't ruin your journey, it made it richer. Life works the same way. When something we want doesn't happen, it's easy to label it as failure. But what if it's actually guidance? What if the wrong turn is what puts us on the right road? Of course, it's not easy to see it that way when you're in the middle of it. The human heart doesn't like disappointment. We like answers, we like certainty, we want to know why things happened the way they did. But sometimes the why only becomes clear later. The rejection letter that crushed you might be the reason you found a better opportunity elsewhere. The person who walked away might be the reason you met someone who truly values you. The dream that crumbled might be the reason you discovered a bigger dream, one you didn't even know you had. It's also important to remember that not every door we want to open is good for us. Sometimes we want things because they look appealing on the surface, but once inside they might drain us, limit us, or even harm us. That's why a closed door is not always a punishment, sometimes it's protection. The next time you face a closed door, try to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, where might this be leading me? That small change in mindset can turn a moment of frustration into a moment of curiosity and hope. We don't have control over which doors open or close, but we do have control over how we respond. We can either stand in front of the locked door forever, letting it drain our energy, or we can turn around, look for the next open door and keep moving forward. Because more often than not, the closed door isn't the end of your journey, it's just the sign that you're being redirected to something better, something that might not only meet your expectations, but exceed them in ways you never imagined. We live in a world that worships speed, fast internet, fast delivery, instant answers. We've been conditioned to believe that if something isn't happening right now, it's a problem. But life doesn't work like that. Sometimes you're ready for something in your mind, but not in your reality. Sometimes the thing you're asking for is ready for you, but you're not yet ready for it. And so, life makes you wait. Waiting is hard, it's uncomfortable, it can feel like you're falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. You watch other people get the jobs you wanted, the relationships you dreamed of, the opportunities you've been working toward, and you wonder, when is it going to be my turn? But here's the thing, a delay is not a denial. Just because something isn't happening now doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It might simply mean that the timing isn't right yet. Think about nature. You can't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. Growth takes time, the roots need to spread, the soil needs to be enriched, the weather needs to be right. If the fruit comes too early, it won't be sweet, it will be unripe. The same is true for the things you're waiting for. Delays often protect us from stepping into something before we're ready. They give us the chance to develop the skills, the mindset, and the resilience we'll need when the opportunity finally arrives. Without that preparation, we might mishandle the very thing we've been asking for. Sometimes a delay allows the situation itself to ripen. The job you want might not be available now, but in a year it could come with better pay, a better boss, and a better work environment. The person you're meant to meet might not be ready to meet you, yet they could be working through their own growth so they can show up for you in the right way. The dream you have might need the world itself to shift before it can happen in the way it's meant to. We forget that timing can be just as important as the thing itself. If you've ever caught a train too early or too late, you know that being at the right place at the wrong time is still a missed opportunity. But when you're at the right place at the right time, everything flows. Delays can also be a way of redirecting us toward a better version of our goal. What you think you want today might be a smaller version of what's actually possible for you. If you got it now, you might settle for less than you're capable of. But if you wait, you might receive something far greater than you even imagined. Of course, patience is easier to talk about than to practice. When you're in the middle of a waiting season, it can feel like nothing is happening. But here's a reminder, just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't any. Think about what happens underground before a seed breaks the surface. Months of unseen growth are taking place before the first green sprout appears. Your life can be like that too. The foundation is being laid even if you can't see it yet. Instead of fighting the delay, use it. Work on yourself. Strengthen your skills. Build your health, your confidence, your character. When the timing is finally right, you won't just be ready for the opportunity, you'll be able to sustain it. Sometimes we think getting what we want as fast as possible will make us happy. But there's something deeply satisfying about looking back and realizing it took time, but now I understand why. The waiting made you stronger. The waiting made you wiser. And most importantly, the waiting made the reward even sweeter. So the next time you find yourself in a season of delay, remember it's not wasted time. It's preparation time. Life isn't holding you back. It's aligning things so that when it's your turn, everything will be exactly where it needs to be. There's a certain kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than most, the kind that comes when you've asked, hoped, and even begged for something. And it never happens. You picture it in your mind, you plan for it, you wait for that yes that will change everything, and instead you get silence, nothing. It's human nature to feel hurt in those moments. You might think, why didn't this work out for me? Am I not deserving enough? Did I do something wrong? It's easy to believe that silence means neglect. But what if it means care? We often assume that getting what we want will always be good for us. But here's the truth: sometimes what we want most could also be what breaks us. We can't always see the hidden consequences behind our desires. From where we stand, it might look perfect, but from a wider perspective, it could be full of challenges we aren't ready to face. Think about a time in your life when you didn't get what you asked for, and at the time, it felt like the end of the world. Maybe it was a relationship you thought was the one. Maybe it was a job you were sure would make you happy. Maybe it was a move to a new city you were certain was your destiny. Back then, you couldn't see why the answer was no, but now, you can probably see it clearly. That relationship might have drained your spirit. That job might have taken away your peace. That move might have isolated you from the people who truly cared about you. Sometimes unanswered prayers are simply the universe's way of protecting us from what we can't yet understand. They stop us from walking into situations that might look good on the surface but carry storms beneath. They prevent us from tying our future to something that isn't aligned with who we are meant to become. It's like a parent stopping a child from eating too much candy. The child cries because they don't understand. They only see the sweetness, not the stomachache that's coming. The parent sees further. They're not being unkind, they're being protective. When we're in the middle of wanting something so badly, it's almost impossible to imagine that not having it could be a good thing. We get tunnel vision. We see the glow of our dream and ignore the shadows around it. We forget that sometimes the no is not a rejection, it's a rescue. Another way to think about it is like being at an airport, ready to board your flight, and suddenly it gets cancelled. You're angry, frustrated, you feel like your plans are ruined. Then later, you find out there was a mechanical problem with the plane. In that moment, the cancellation you hated becomes the thing you're most grateful for. That's how unanswered prayers often work. You might not get the explanation right away, in fact. Sometimes you may never get the full story, but in time you start to see patterns. You start to notice that when something didn't happen, it made space for something else, something better, safer, and more fitting. There's also a hidden gift in unanswered prayers. They teach us trust. They remind us that our perspective is limited. We think we know exactly what we need, but we don't see the full map. Sometimes what we think will be a shortcut is actually a dangerous road, and the delay or denial is what keeps us safe. It's worth remembering that life isn't just about getting what we want, it's about becoming who we're meant to be. And sometimes the very thing we're chasing could take us in the opposite direction of that growth. So the unanswered prayer is not punishment, it's preservation. The next time you find yourself heartbroken over something you didn't get, take a breath. Remind yourself that there could be a reason you can't see yet. The no you're hurting over today might be the reason you're smiling tomorrow, and one day you might look back and say, "I'm so glad I didn't get what I asked for." It's funny how life works. There are moments when something happens and you're convinced it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. You feel crushed. Your plans fall apart, your expectations vanish, and you're left standing there wondering how you'll ever move forward. But then, time passes, and somewhere down the road you look back and think, "I'm actually glad that happened." In the moment, disappointment feels heavy. It feels unfair, almost personal. Maybe it was the job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't last, the opportunity that slipped away, or the dream that seemed so close but somehow stayed out of reach. When you were standing in the middle of that moment, it felt like loss. Pure, undeniable loss. What you couldn't see then was how that very loss was shaping you. It was pushing you in a new direction, forcing you to grow in ways you wouldn't have if things had gone according to your plan. Think about it. If every single thing you wanted in the past had happened exactly the way you wanted it, would you be where you are today? Would you have met the people you've met? Would you have learned the lessons you've learned? Would you have discovered the opportunities that were waiting for you? Often the answer is no. Our disappointments are the very reason we're standing where we are. They've cleared paths we didn't know existed. They've closed doors that would have led us somewhere we didn't belong. Take a relationship, for example. At the time, its ending might have felt like heartbreak you'd never recover from. But years later, you realize that ending allowed you to meet someone who truly values you, someone whose love feels safe, respectful, and lasting. Suddenly, the pain you once resented becomes a stepping stone you're thankful for. Or think about a job you didn't get. In the moment, it felt like a missed chance, maybe even a personal failure. But months later, another opportunity came along, one that was a better fit, with better pay, a healthier environment, and room to grow. Had you gotten the first job, you would have missed the better one waiting just ahead. That's the strange gift of disappointment. It often hides its purpose until much later. It doesn't feel like a gift when you're living through it. It feels like loss, but when you zoom out and see the bigger picture, you realize it was more like a turning point. Disappointment also builds resilience. When things don't go our way, we're forced to adapt, to think differently, to work harder, to find new paths. We discover strength we didn't know we had. We learn patience, humility, and perspective. And with that growth comes a kind of gratitude that's deeper than anything success alone could give us. It's not that the pain disappears completely, it's that the pain transforms. It turns from a wound into wisdom, and with that wisdom we can look back and say, I'm thankful that didn't happen, because if it had, I wouldn't be who I am today. There's a reason so many people say, everything happens for a reason. Not because it's a cliché, but because experience proves it. Over time, life has a way of showing us that what we once thought was a curse was actually a blessing in disguise. Sometimes, we don't even realize how bad something would have been for us until much later. That person you thought was your forever, maybe their true colors would have broken you. That business idea you were obsessed with, maybe the timing would have destroyed it before it could succeed. That move to a new city you dreamed of, maybe it would have taken you away from the very people who give your life meaning. It's only with hindsight that we connect the dots. And those dots often form a picture we never could have imagined, a picture that makes us grateful for the very things we once cried over. So yes, disappointment hurts, it tests us, it changes us, but more often than not it changes us for the better. And when the storm has passed and the dust has settled, we can look back with a heart that's softer, wiser, and thankful even for the things we once thought we couldn't survive. There's a certain kind of peace that comes with this belief that what's truly meant for you will always find its way to you. It won't get lost, it won't end up in someone else's hands by mistake, it won't pass you by forever. In a world where we're constantly told to hustle, to compete, to race against the clock, it's easy to believe that if we don't grab something immediately, we'll lose it forever. We're told opportunities don't wait. And while that can be true for some things, there's a deeper truth at play. What's truly yours can't be taken away from you, not by other people, not by timing, not by circumstance. Think about the people who came into your life unexpectedly. Maybe you weren't even looking for them. Maybe you were in a completely different place physically, mentally, emotionally, and yet, somehow, your paths crossed at exactly the right time. That wasn't an accident. Or think about an opportunity you thought you missed, only for it to circle back to you months or even years later, when you were actually more prepared to handle it. It's moments like these that remind us, timing matters just as much as the thing itself. When something is meant for you, it won't require you to chase it endlessly or force it to fit. It won't slip through your fingers because someone else got there faster. It will align with your life in a way that feels natural, even if it doesn't happen according to your schedule. Of course, that doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing. We still have to show up, work hard, and make ourselves ready. But there's a difference between working towards something and clinging to it out of fear. Fear says, if I let go, I'll lose it forever. Faith says, if it's truly mine, it will come, and if it doesn't, it wasn't meant to. This truth can save you from a lot of anxiety. It can stop you from comparing your journey to someone else's. Because here's the reality, if someone else gets what you wanted, that doesn't mean they stole it from you. It simply means it wasn't yours. Your path is different, and what's designed for you will meet you on that path, not theirs. Sometimes we mistake temporary things for permanent ones. We believe that just because something feels good right now, it's meant to stay forever, but not everything is meant to be permanent. Some things come into our lives to teach us, to shape us, to prepare us for what's next. And when they leave, it's not because we've lost it, it's because the space needs to be clear for what's truly meant for us to arrive. It's like trying to hold onto a handful of sand. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. But when you relax your hand, the right amount stays. The same goes for life. You can't force what's meant for you, but you can make room for it. There's also comfort in knowing that missing out on something doesn't mean missing out forever. What's yours will not require you to betray yourself to keep it. It won't demand you to constantly prove your worth. It will meet you where you are, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but when the time is right. Think of it like two trains traveling on separate tracks. For a while, they might run parallel but never meet. But somewhere down the line, the tracks merge and they arrive at the same station together. That's how life works with people, opportunities, and dreams. The meeting point is already set even if you can't see it yet. And here's something important. If something slips away from you, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because it wasn't aligned with where your life is heading. Sometimes letting go is the very thing that allows the right thing to arrive. When you understand this, you stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You stop holding on to situations that drain you. You stop blaming yourself for the doors that close. And you start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself so that when what's truly yours arrives, you're ready to receive it fully. So if something you love feels far away right now, if you're watching someone else get what you've been dreaming of, if you're afraid the chance has passed you by, remember this: what's truly yours cannot be lost. It won't miss you. It's simply on its way, and when it arrives, it will fit into your life so naturally, you'll wonder why you ever worried about it in the first place.